So it's driver review time, and it's Tour Edge Exotics, the new E723 drivers. Two options to choose from. We're going to hit both in this video, run through the tech, and there's plenty of it, and we'll see how these drivers perform. So as I mentioned, there's two models. They're both called E723, but one's called the Extreme Spec, one's called a Competition Spec. So the Extreme Spec is basically the higher MOI, more forgiveness, straighter hitting out the two versions. And then the Competition Spec is one that's just got a little bit of a different weighting system in there, probably more for that player who's got a slightly bit more speed, maybe want that slightly lower flight, lower spin. I've also got the family of fairway woods hybrids and also the irons to review. So if you want to see those videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and you will not miss those videos. All right, so we're going to start off with the higher MOI. So this Extreme Spec is what Tour Edge are calling it. So looking at the bottom of the driver, the sole, quite a bit going on. We see lots of carbon involved here. We've got a movable weight, which is 20 gram, which can move neutral, 1 into the fade, 2 into the fade, 1 into the draw, 2 into the draw, so a little bit of adjustability. Straight away we see a neck sleeve, which gives us different lofts, face angles, lie angles, so we can really sort of dial that in. Diamond Face technology, we're going to talk a little bit about, and playing position wise, it's a good looking drive. We've got this Ridgeback technology, which is seen in previous exotic models, which basically is that spine and the front section being titanium with then carbon either side in that toe and heel. Looks very glossy down by the ball, loads of carbon exposed. Let's get this first one out there. Oh, working up that left hand side, there's a good crack to that. Got a strong ball flight. Yeah, just missing up that slightly up that left hand side. So probably start off there, first instinct to the sound, probably a bit louder than I was expecting to see, because we are seeing now more carbon in the head with this driver. Quad carbon is what Tour Edge are calling, so we can see 2 lots on the crown, heel and toe, and then underneath we've now got introduction of carbon replacing the titanium, again heel and also into that toe. Much more carbon, we all know that can reposition weight into the areas where they want it. Oh, it's a great ball flight again, it's just tracking up that left hand side. So good size footprint down by the ball, pretty long from that front to the back of the driver. Obviously that's going to get that weight shifting a little bit further back. Bit more straight on that one. Fraction low in the club face. Touch the heel maybe, yeah. Fractionally. Definitely get a little bit of feedback there. There's some sort of decent numbers there. So as I say, the longer from that front to back, we've got this weight in the back, which is 20 grams. So obviously we can shift that in and around that back sort of rail. So maybe more for trying to match up strike patterns on the club face. I will be using that weight for a little bit of heel strike and move that weight in the heel. Just increases that ball speed a little bit more, that smash. So with that weight at the back, Tour Edge is saying this is 5% more MOI than its previous E model. So a little bit more forgiveness. That's a belter. Really good ball flight. It is quite loud, that sound, I've got to say. I know it sort of sometimes echoes a little bit in a studio, but in relationship to other drivers, that sounds a little bit loud. So we've got this diamond face, which we have seen in previous models. So basically like little multiple mini trampolines on this club face here. Variable face thickness, or VFT, so thinner face around the heel and the toe section, creates a little bit more of that flexing, again, obviously within legal limits here of maximising that sort of ball speed. Quite like that ridge technology, you know, that real black stripe through the back of the drive. It's really helps with alignment just as you sit it down by that ball. That's a nice one. Just to end that little batch with the MOI version of those two models. So availability wise in this particular Extreme Spec is a 9 degree, 10.5 and also a 12. Again, loads of adjustability so you can move that loft and that light around to dial in your ball flight. Okay, so switching now into what they call a Competition Spec. So basically we've got some more adjustability in comparison to the previous model there. So we've got 2 weights in this now. We've got a 5 gram and a 15 gram, which can be flipped. So as standard, the 5 will come at the front of the club, the 15 at the back. Obviously that back track we can move in that heel and toe to move a little bit of that adjustability to maybe work with that strike pattern. So down by the golf ball, this looks very, very similar to the other model. Just get these up side by side and think if you didn't know the difference, you'd probably think these are two drivers that are exactly the same. Probably for anything, I tell you what, it is maybe quite subtle, but I think the competition spec one is a little bit more compact from that front to back. It's probably just fractions, I would say. It's very difficult to see. As I say, put them side by side, there's not a lot of difference. Same look again and down by that golf ball. So I'm going to start off with a 15 gram weight in the back, and I'm going to move that weight and see what it does maybe to ball flight. Oh, that's a cracking start with that one. Real nice piercing ball flight on that. The sound maybe not quite as loud as that first one, on that first particular hit. Yeah, really nice sort of ball flight there. Slight toe strike, but just pulling that spin down a fraction, but really splitting that fairway with the first one. So obviously with not as much weight back and maybe not quite as long in that front to back positioning, then maybe this is where it's not quite as forgiving as the other model. So maybe aim for more for the player who's a little bit more central on the strike, a little bit more consistent on that. Wowzers. And who just wants a little bit of that extra adjustability with those weights. That's crunch, that one. Oh yeah, just moved my strike pattern. Yeah, a little bit in that heel that feel as quite as fiery off the club face. Ball speed wasn't bad there actually. Spin just dropped a tiny bit. So far so good with the accuracy of this one. Ooh, just as I say that, just get one up that left-hand side, but good ball flight again. Felt like a good strike. Yeah, just clinging on to the left edge of the fairway maybe there. So the spin looks quite low there, to be honest, even in this setting, so maybe just moving these weights around might not suit me, but we're going to do it. We're going to hit it and see by putting that heavy gram in the front of the head and the 5 gram lighter one at the back, we'll see what adjustments that makes. Right, maybe that's me, but that felt quite hard work to try and get that back weight back in that section there, but I managed to do it. Because once you've done it once, you'll be able to do that a little bit quicker. So 15 gram forward, 5 gram at the back. Good ball flight. I mean, I struck that, what felt really well. It looked to be a little bit hot off the club face. Yeah, a little bit more ball speed there. Spin at 2-4. Just leak that one out to the right. Yeah, it's just not quite squaring that club face up on that one there. Obviously, a little bit of that heel strike has just peeled it off, and obviously the spin then really does go up from there. So that's more me than the club. It's maybe sometimes just a little bit of the trade-offs of having that extra weight forward. You know, if you get it in the sweet spot there, you probably get the numbers out of it. But if you're just sort of slightly missing strike, you can appreciate the MOI isn't going to be quite as big when that weight is forward. We've seen that in previous models, not just TaylorMade but other drivers. When we put that weight forward, we tend to have that little bit, that sacrifice of forgiveness. Again, good piercing ball flight there. That's maybe a good example there. You can see just that little bit of differences of the strike, you know, moving that one into a slightly high toe, that pulls it out at 1600 on the spin. So you always got to remember your strike and look at your strike and measure your strike, maybe through that fitting process, or if you're having coaching lessons, look at maybe strike from the launch monitors, see where your tendencies are, because that will probably decide whether you go into more of a low spin drive or stay more with maybe like a higher MOI with more weight back, depending on your strike patterns. If you get your strike a little bit toe to high in the face, you'll see probably more pull off the spin. You're probably going to be a low spin type of golfer, so having this weight forward isn't probably going to help you on those types of strikes. Okay, first look at the dispersion ring. So you can see orange there being the tightest, and that was actually a competition spec with that weight, 15 gram weight at the back. The blue ones with it more forward, again, that's that poor strike, that short leaky right high spinner. Again, that's probably more me and my strike on that point, but maybe a little bit of that forgiveness level, just dropping, it's not helping me out in that particular miss. Okay, so then when we look at the numbers here, and I'll tell you what, there's not a lot in between all these clubs, to be honest. So club head speed, identical as you're going to expect. You can see ball speed pretty much identical, just a touch more, as you can see, just creeping out of that weight, being more forward, which again, something that you can sort of see. Launch a hair lower, but again, not a lot. My strikes will outweigh that more than probably that weight going forward. Spin numbers there, you can see they're all relatively low spin, aren't they? Even that higher MOI, see it's spun at 2.2 there, and quite a nice sort of tight array of numbers, again, as I just slightly move my strike. So that would be I wouldn't really want it any lower than that for me personally. I've got my launch around 11 kit, that spin at that 2.2 would help to sort of maximise a little bit carry, and you can see it does that. You know, that's the longest carry out of all those 3 options. Moving into the competition spec, this is one with a 15 gram weight back. You can see my spin was actually quite low there. I had a couple where I missed it on the wrong side of the club face. You just get a little bit more of that pull off. And then when I move the weight forward, I had the helium one, which obviously just kills my spin. So a little bit more erratic maybe with those spin numbers there, with that slightly less forgiving option for myself. So I would say that extreme spec would be brilliant for probably the high majority of golfers out there. Even sort of, you know, low, probably you see some tour players maybe moving into that spec as well with those sort of control of spin. And maybe the guy who wants that little bit of adjustability, obviously you've got the competition spec to fall into. Okay, so 2 decent drivers there from Tour Edge yet again. Post comments below, let me know if you've got Tour Edge in your bag. If so, which clubs and why? I'd love to hear your thoughts as always. Appreciate you watching the video and hopefully catch up with you all very soon.